Please be seated. The court is now back in session. We now proceed to hear the statement of suffering and harms by a civil party, that is TCCP 117. Court officer, could you invite the civil party into the courtroom? Good afternoon, Madam Civil Party. What is your name? Civil Party. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Podina. Thank you. Question: how old are you? Answer: I am 60 years old. Question: can you tell us your place of birth? Answer: I was born in Koh Dach Commune, Mukampu District, Kondal Province. Question: where is your current address and what is your current occupation? Answer: I live in Kampong Speu Province, in Kap Tup Village, Kondal Dom Commune, Chbamon District. Currently, I work in a laundry. Question: what are the names of your father and mother? Answer: my father's name is Koi Po and my mother's name is Preng Rain. Question: are you married? If so, how many children? Answer: my husband passed away and I have one child. Thank you. As a civil party before this court, you are given an opportunity to make a statement of sufferings and harms inflicted upon you materially, psychologically, and materially, which are the direct result of the crimes that occurred and that led you to become a civil party in this case. And the crimes which have been charged against the co-accused, namely Nuon Chi and Khieu Sampon, and which occurred during the Mukoti Cambodia regime, that is from 17 April 1975 to 6 January 1979. You may make the statement after you have been questioned by the Council for Civil Party. For you, The lead co-lawyers requested the assigned counsel to question you first before you make your statement of sufferings. Now, the assigned lawyer, you may proceed. Tisrina, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Podina. I have some questions to put to you. I'd like to know a little bit of your background in 1975, or prior to 1975. Before 1975, where did you live? Answer. Before 1975, I lived near the Thai embassy, near the Royal Palace. Question. You stated that you were married. What is your husband's name? Answer. His name is Sao Saran. Question. What was his occupation? President. Madam Sivapati, please observe a slight pause in between question-answer session. You should only speak after you see the red light on your microphone, which indicates that the microphone is operational and your voice will go through the voice distribution system. Counsel, put the question again. Counsel. I'd like to ask you the name of your husband and what he did at the time and where. Answer. His name is Sao Saran. He worked in the Thai embassy near the Royal Palace at the time. Question. You yourself, what did you do back then? Answer. I worked in the kitchen in the Thai embassy. Question. What was your livelihood? Can you describe to the court? Answer. Our living condition was good back then. We did not lack in anything. Everything went smoothly for our family. Question. Now I go to the year 1975. Can you tell the court of your experience under the Khmer Rouge regime from the start till the end? And if you can do that in details, please do so. Answer. On the 17th April 1975, Khmer Rouge soldiers entered our house and asking for the owner, and I replied that the owner was not in and that I was the one who got the house. I was asked repeatedly, and I maintained the same response that I was the God. They did not believe it, and they entered the house, they smashed things inside the house. And subsequently, my husband heard the noise, he came out, and the 4 or 5 Khmer soldiers took him by the collar and asking whether he was the house owner. And my husband said, no, he was not the house owner, we were the guards. But the Khmer Rouge did not believe my husband. And they said because of his physical body, he did not look like a guard. So he was beaten with the rifle butt, and he was kicked, and they asked him to tell them the truth, that he was the owner of the house. He maintained his response, and I begged them not to mistreat my husband. They did not listen to me. They kept kicking him. It was painful for me to watch it. Then they tied his hands behind his back. I crawled to back them at their feet to release him. I was so shocked and terrified. After my husband was tied up, they kicked him. And Prince Trungkantol heard of what happened. He came out and asked them not to mistreat my husband. They did not believe the prince, and they kept torturing my husband. It was painful to watch my husband being tortured.
Then they decided to release my husband. I untied my husband, and soon afterwards they left my house. Then at around 8 o'clock at night, there was another group of soldiers who came to our house again. They threatened us to leave our house immediately. They need to reorganize the city. We begged them on our knees that we would leave the house, but let us leave in the morning, because if I had to leave immediately, then I would not have any belongings with us. Then those soldiers did not listen to us. They warned us that if we fail to leave immediately, they would destroy everything. They threatened our life too. At that time, we had no choice but to leave our house. We had a motorbike with us. We rode on the motorbike all the way to Munivung Bridge. I noticed that there were a lot of people marching out of the city. We could move only for approximately 5 meters or so. We got stuck with the people, but we had to keep on walking. We just went on and on. We slept on the way, and we just went on without knowing where we were heading for. We went on walking until we felt fainted. I felt fainted, and my husband also fainted, because we were physically weak. We were beaten, and on the ways our life was miserable. We stayed one night on the ways, and then the next morning we would go on. It took us a few days to get to Prek Ang. When we got to Prek Ang, we heard through the loudspeaker that those who came from Phnom Penh had to come to register their name. Some people went to register their names, and my husband wanted to go and register his name, but I warned him that the situation was not good, so we had better not register our name. We just went on walking. So we kept walking forwards. It took us 3 days to reach Prek Ang pagoda. We stayed overnight at this pagoda, and then the next morning we arrived at Troi Taprum, and we were heading for my hometown. My hometown was in Sakakeo pagoda through Araisat, Prek Luang, and to Kodak village, Mokompul district and Kandal province. When we got there, they once again called us for a family registration. We registered the members of our family, and they categorized us as the 17 April people. They call us the 17 April people. They told us that we were the 17 April people, so we could not stop over there. We had to go on walking, and I begged them to stay there for some time because we had been tired, and they refused. They said that they were their village was in the state of shortage of food supply, so we had to go on. So we continue to travel council. Madam, I know that you are going rather fast. Let me ask you a bit of the situation when you actually left Phnom Penh. Did you observe any situation that was worth mentioning here when you were leaving Phnom Penh? Now, to make it easy, I would like to ask you for example, any situation like people dying on the street, or the food ration you receive, or the difficulty in general you encounter when you were leaving Phnom Penh. Response: we did not have food, we did not have spoon or cooking pot or anything at all to prepare our food along the way. Life was miserable. When we were on our move, we also saw soldiers from the Lon Nol administration were tied up together, and they were frog march in lines. I was very frightened by the scene. I wonder what would happen to my family. We do not have any idea of the fate of our family. We don't know when we will die, but we of course saw the dead bodies along the street. Council: thank you. You said you reached your hometown. So when you got to your hometown, did you encounter anything in your family, or was there anything that caused trouble or difficulty for your family when you first reached your hometown? Response: once I got to my hometown, we did not have any shelter to take. We did not have not even a small piece of thatched roof to stay. We did not have any roof over our heads, and as for food supply, we did not have any rice, and we did not have any other ingredients for food. We were helpless, and for a few days they would distribute 4 cans of rice for us. That was the food ration allowed to us. And during the daytimes we had to work on the rice fields, and then in the evening or at night we were required to drain water into the rice field. Question: did you stay in your hometown the entire period of the Democratic Cambodia, or you had to move somewhere else? Response: no, I was not allowed to stay in my hometown for the entire period. In a matter of a month, they would come to take the statistic of my family members, and they sent us away. We had to get on board the boat, and then we disembarked the village to somewhere else. So those who were considered the 17 April people had to leave, even though we begged them not to move us anymore. But they said that we were the new people, so we had to leave, and those base people remained in the village. So we had no choice but to register our name. And then one night they called the 17 April people to get on board the boat, and one boat carries some 30 to 40 families. There were 2 decks of the boat. I was in constant fear. I did not know what would happen to me and my family, and they confiscated our belongings, including our motorbike as well. They told us that we must not bring anything along with us. We only brought along the daily necessity, and at that time I did not even bother to bring along with many belongings, because I first of all want to only save my life. And we, the 17 April people, got on board the boat, and we were heading northward, and the boat took us for 2 hours, and then we got to one pier. It was I did not know the whereabouts of this pier, and then 20 or 30 family members got off the boat, and we got on the truck, and they took us away. At that time, people were very hungry. They did not have anything to eat, particularly young children. At that time, situation was chaotic and confusing. Nobody knew what was happening. Children were separated from their family, and children were crying, and we were actually traveling, and we did not know where we would be going. It was in the night. It was dark everywhere. We did not know where we were going. And then the next morning, we arrived in Posat. I asked people where we were now, and they told me that this was Posat province. And then I knew that I was in Posat province. I was quite far from my hometown now, and I got even more terrified by this news. I did not know about the fate of our family. I did not know what my life would end up in Posat province, because I was too far away from my hometown now. Then the unit chief received us, and then they put us in the cooperatives and the groups based on the family divisions. They put us into different cooperatives based on the numbers of families, members in the family. We did not have a roof over our head at that time. They actually made us sleep on the earth. Our living condition got desperate and worse each day. We did not have any shelter, we did not have any food, we do not have any exact location to stay. We have to sleep under the shade of the tree during the daytime, and then at night we just slept on the earth. And then for about a month I was evacuated to Swaisaw Cooperative, and over there were around 10 families. We went there, and when we got there, we did not see any shelter for us at all. Life was completely miserable, and the misery came to my family. At that time, they assigned my husband to plow the rice field. The first times my husband came, the second time my husband came, and the third time he disappeared mysteriously. He never returned. I have lost him ever since. As for my only child. Counsel, may I interrupt you before you describe about your life condition over there? I would like to ask you about your husband. You said your husband never returned. On the third times he went to plowing the field. Were you trying to look for him at the time? Response. When I did not see my husband, I did not know who to ask for him, where to look for him. I asked people whom I got to know. They told me that they did not know. They only knew that he went to the rice field to do the plowing. I did not know. I had no idea who to ask for. I had to wait for him for a month or 2 months. Later, then I heard the rumor that my husband were taken for re-education. And upon hearing that sad news, I was shocked. I was waiting for my husband. I waited for him, and he never returned. Life was unbearable after hearing this news. Counsel. So back then, do you have any idea why your husband were taken for re-education? Response. I heard it through a rumor that my husband was a colonel. They alleged my husband of being a colonel of the previous regime, and then they arrested him and sent him for re-education based on this allegation. But in fact, my husband was not a colonel. He was not a military personnel. I felt very depressed and I felt despaired because I know that my husband would probably never return. And then a militiaman came to eavesdrop me. They actually followed me. They wanted to find out whether or not I was the wife of a colonel. I waited for my husband, and I learned from others that once he was sent for re-education, that was destined for death. I felt sick and I was very weak. I got weaker and weaker because I have lost my loved family. I have lost my beloved husband. They accused me of being a spouse of a colonel. They mistreated me. They made me work extremely hard, day and night. I felt sick, and I felt very sick, so sick that I could not go anywhere to get even the food ration I was supposed to get. I had to make my small 6-year-old son to go and fetch the food ration we were given. And then when he came back, he carried with him with only a small bit of the bean and corns, a few crops of corns and beans. And then when he got close to my house, he fell down, and then he spilled over the bean crops and corn crops. And then he was crying so hard because he was afraid that I would blame him, I would beat him. He apologized to me that he had spilled these food rations, and I told my son that I would not mind him. Question, Madam, please relax. Do you want to relax for a minute or two to compose yourself? If you need time to relax, I will make an application to the President. Then you can relax for a few minutes to compose yourself. Counsel, can you go on? Respond yes. Question. So I would like to now move on to your son. So after the disappearance of your husband, what happened to your son? After learning that my husband died, my son also fell sick. He was sick because of starvation. He did not have food to eat. He became very sick, and I did not have any idea how to get medicine for my son. His limbs were swollen, and we only had the rabbit dung pill to administer. I was very pitiful. I was very sorrowful for my son. I know that he was dying. I witnessed him. He said he was very starving. He starved, and he begged me for food. He said that he was starving. He could not stand anymore, and he died in front of me, starving. So after that, my son died of starvation. I feel very painful. It's beyond word can describe. I love my son dearly, and he left me, and he died in front of me because of starvation. I feel very pity on him. He was starving, and as a mother, I did not have anything to feed him. I feel resentful, and I feel angry with myself that I could not have my son, and he had to die because of this starvation.
The pain was unbearable upon seeing the death of my child. Counsel, please recompose yourself, Madam Civil Party. Counsel, I will put another question to you. After the loss of your husband and your son, did you experience any other unfortunate events? And what was the condition in the area that you live? Answer. I later heard that my mother became seriously ill. At that time, she was looking after the children unit. So I asked for my permission to visit my mother, but my request was denied. They said that I was not a medic and my mother was being looked after by the medical staff, and that I should focus on the work assigned to me by Onka. I made another request, but it was turned down again, and then later on I decided to run at night to visit my mother in the hospital. She passed away and I was not allowed to go near her. Her dead body was placed on an ox cart and I requested to bury her body, but my request was turned down again. I requested to see her for the last time, but I was not allowed to. I was told that I should not worry about that as she would be buried by the medical staff, and I was chased away. It was painful not to see my mother for the last time. She was later on placed on an ox cart amongst several other dead bodies and taken away for burial. I did not know where she was buried. I almost became crazy upon the loss of all my beloved ones. My life was like a woman in the Cambodian folk tale that I lost everyone, my husband, my mother, and my son. I no longer had any hope with me. My life would become meaningless as all the valuable to my life, that is my beloved ones, all left. Counsel, Madam, please recompose yourself so that we can conclude this session as we only have limited time. My next question to you is the following. After the loss of your husband, son, and mother, what became of your fate? Did you encounter any other tragedy? Or what happened to you after? Answer. I lost my beloved husband, son, and parents. I was then forced to marry another husband, but I refused. That was the time I was beaten and imprisoned. It was a prison without walls. I was seriously beaten up before I was put in the prison. Question, were you interrogated at the time? Answer, I was interrogated and they said that why I was so stubborn and not follow the direction of Hong Kong. and they warned me that I would be smashed. I did not respond. I kept quiet, and they just kept beating me up and detained me. In the prison, I witnessed several other events. I saw a man, he was tied up and he was blindfolded with a plastic bag. His hands were tied behind his back and his chest was tied. And he was asked a question whether he was a lunar soldier, and he replied no. They kept asking the same question if he was a lunar soldier, and he kept replying the same thing. Then they kept beating him up. I was trembling upon seeing the scene. I was scared and shocked. And I myself was physically tortured, and it was painful also for me. 2 or 3 days later, when I was sick, I was sent to a hospital. And about 3 weeks later, when I became a little bit better health-wise, actually I picked up a piece of paper and then I wrote a request to be transferred to another unit, in a farming unit. And I stayed in the farming unit for a while before I was transferred to gathered rice in Chirayron, Swai Don Cao. I then went to Swai Don Cao near the Chirayron area, and I was in the area to transport rice up the mountain. I witnessed other events over there. I witnessed with my own eyes that people were arrested and lined up, and they were stabbed with bayonets, one after another. I was scared and I fled the area, and I returned to the place where I stayed. And about a fortnight later, I was transferred once again to collect the cow dungs for rice fields. I did what I was told, and then I saw the Easter people with the blue scarves on their necks, and they asked me to pick the rice grains. I saw the Khmer Rouge soldiers standing in a row and started opening a fire at those people from the east. I was hiding myself under a tree. I was trembling and my heart was beating very fast. I did not want to leave the area in case that they would see me, so I kept sitting there under the tree. After the situation went quiet, I quietly left the area. So I returned to my place again and I was given food. And at night time, I was assigned once again to go up the mountain. And I cannot recall the actual year, but the situation at that time was rather confusing. So there was a group of us who went up the Xomksan mountain. But I actually did not want to go, as I actually was standing on the north side of the road, but the people who were on the south side were gathered up to go up the mountain. Because I refused to go there, and I was beaten and actually attempted to break my legs, and the scars remain with me today. They beat me up and I became unconscious. I was massaged and assisted by other people, and they put me and carried me in a hammock. I suffered a great deal under that dark regime. I suffered mentally and physically. We were instructed to go up the mountain, and we stayed up the mountain for a while, and we were asked to dig up the stump trees. And for one stump tree, 4 of us was assigned to dig it up, and we had to complete it. But as we could not complete it, then the 4 of us were beaten up. I was thrown aside, and my knee was hit with a tree, and it was very painful. Counsel, did you make any mistake at the time, and that you were caught while making that kind of a mistake? Answer. Later on, I was transferred from the tree stump digging group, and then I was put in the plantation group. There were 12 people in that group. And we actually made a mistake by going through another area beyond the area where we was assigned to, and then we were arrested and detained and shackled with a chain. And at that prison, upon entering or going out the prison, we would be beaten up, and we would be shackled by our ankles. I suffered in that prison for 4 or 5 days, and in the morning we were let out to do the work outside, and I found the time to escape away and to return to my old unit to tell the unit chief to return and have the rest of my group members released. I kept experiencing bad events during the regime. Counsel, you stated that you lost your husband, your son, and your mother. Besides these 3 beloved ones, did you lose any other relatives or family members? Answer. I also lost my elder brother, who also worked at the Thai embassy. He, his wife, and the children, and another elder brother who was a naval officer, a colonel in Kampong Chnang. He also disappeared, and my younger brother disappeared as well. I kept searching for them in 1979. I kept asking for them everywhere. I was told, sometimes I was told that they died, sometimes I was told that they saw them here or there, and I kept looking for them. And I was still hoping that they survived, and they disappeared since the day. Question: when You keep at your home and try to search for your family members, and you have not found them. What is your feeling? Answer: I lost everyone. My husband, my child, my mother, and my siblings. I am suffered, and I still bear the pains inside me. I almost went psychotic. My memory is not that great anymore. My mind is still thinking about the beloved family members who passed away. President, the floor is now given to the prosecution to put the question to this civil party.
Thank you, Mr. President. And good afternoon, Madam Poe Dina. I have just a few questions for you this afternoon. First, you mentioned earlier when you were describing your forced movement from Phnom Penh, you indicated that you saw Lon Nol soldiers who were tied up together and being frog-marched. Can you tell us where it was that you saw this?
I saw Lon Nol soldiers being tied up. That was during the confusing time when everybody was leaving Phnom Penh. It happened at around 4 a.m.
And where in Phnom Penh, if you remember, where did you see this?
Yes, what I saw it was near the area of Bang Snao. While I was walking along the road, they were being walked on the opposite direction, that is heading toward Phnom Penh.
Thank you. The second area that I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned how you were required to register your name or your family's name at some point. Can you tell us, in addition to registering your name when you arrived at certain locations, did you have to provide other information about you and your family? Information such as who your relatives were and what you had done prior to 17 April 1975.
Could you please repeat your question? I don't really get it.
You talked a little bit about having to register your name. My question is, did the Khmer Rouge require other information about you and your family, such as who your relatives were and what you had done before April 1975, what your occupation or job was?
At that time, the announcement was made on a mobile loudspeaker that people who used to work in Phnom Penh should register their names so that they could be returned to Phnom Penh. But I did not know about the registration. I only heard about the announcement. But I did not want my husband to register because I did not want to be separated from my husband.
Was there any time you indicated that your husband was accused of being a colonel in the Law Nol regime? Was there any time where the Khmer Rouge found out that you had a brother who was the colonel in the Navy in Kampong Chenang?
I already arrived in Busan, and they actually researched our background. At my native village, my husband was accused of being a colonel, and when we were in Busan, they observed the particular feature of my husband and accused him of being a colonel. But in fact, he only worked as an assistant in the Thai embassy for my blood elder brother, who was indeed a colonel in the Navy and stationed in Kampong Chenang.
My last question to you, Madam Po Dina. You indicated that when you got to Persat that they did some research into your family background. My last question is, can you just tell us how it was that they researched your family background? Did you have to provide biographies? Did they come to ask you questions? Can you tell us just a little bit about how that happened?
When we arrived in Busan, they researched our background and the background of those who used to be former soldiers. My husband said he was a motor dog rider and he lied to them. He did not tell them that he worked. That's what he told them.
Thank you very much, Madam Civil Party, for coming here today and for answering our questions. Mr. President, we have no other questions.
President, thank you. The floor is now given to Nguyen Chi's defense to put questions to the civil party. You may proceed. Sonarun. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. I only have 2 questions for the civil party. Madam Civil Party, you already replied to the questions put to you by the assigned counsel for civil parties, but I was unclear. And for the proper transcript, allow me to clarify this matter. When the Khmer Rouge entered Phnom Penh on the 17th April 1975, you and your husband worked in Phnom Penh. Where did you work and what was your role? Answer. On the 17th April 1975, I worked at the Thai embassy with my husband. It was just to the northeast of the royal palace. Question. When the Khmer Rouge entered the house where you worked, and you said the Khmer Rouge asked for the owner of the house, and correct me if I am wrong here, and you replied that you were not the owner. And later on, your husband came, and he was asked the same question, whether he was the owner, and he replied that he was not. Is this correct? Answer. Yes, that is correct. That we were not the owner, we were the guards of the house. And my husband actually replied to them the same thing, and we told them that the owner was not in. Question. What did you observe of the Khmer Rouge soldiers who entered the house? What kind of clothing or uniform they were wearing? And what about their attitudes toward you and your husband? Answer. They entered our house and they were of a cruel nature. They kept shouting, "Who is the owner?" That's how it was said. I came out and I told them that the owner was not in and I am not the owner. And they kept asking, "I'm asking for the owner. Where is the owner?" And they came in and they smashed things inside the house. They destroyed the office equipment within the house, which was part of the embassy. As for the uniform, they were wearing black clothing. They had car tire thongs. They had a scarf on their neck, and they were all armed with a rifle. They threatened us, and then they beat my husband up. It was painful to see. Question. When your husband was being beaten up, and as you told the court, there was a person who came down and asked what was happening. Can you clarify who that person was? Answer. At that time, Prince Norodom Kontol, he came from his room and asked what was happening. And when he saw the situation and that my husband was being tied up, he begged them that my husband was not the house owner and he was only a guard. And that person was Prince Norodom Kontol. Question. You told the court that you worked in the Thai embassy with your husband. And why on earth Prince Norodom Kontol came to intervene? Answer. The Khmer Rouge forces in fact came to Phnom Penh on the 17th April 1975, and the prince ran away from his residence, came to take refuge in the Prince Per residence. And later on, they were also chased out of the house and we separated from one another then. So in fact, Prince Kontol had his residence, but he left his residence to come to the area. Questioned. So that it means that you worked in the Thai embassy with your husband, but the house that you were in there belongs to Prince or Princess Per? Am I correct on this point? Answer. I actually worked at the Thai embassy, but the Thai embassy staff rent a house belongs to Prince or Princess Per. Thank you. Question. Did you know what happens to Prince Norodom Kontol after the arrival of the Khmer Rouge? Did the Khmer Rouge do anything to the prince? That is after what they did to you and your husband? Answer. It was night time, then another group of Khmer Rouge came to chase us away from the house, and that was the time Prince Kontol also left the house, so we separated from one another by that time, and I did not know what happened to him. And we separated since. Question. Allow me to go back a little bit. When Prince Norodom Kontol came to intervene and made a statement that you and your husband were only the guards of the house, did the Khmer Rouge group and Norodom Kontol interact, or what happened between them? Answer. The soldiers did not seem to react to him as he begged them not to mistreat my husband and to release him. That one of the Khmer Rouge soldiers nodded his head and untied my husband's name. Question. And then there was another group of Khmer Rouge soldiers who entered the house and chased you away. Is this correct? Answer. At about 8 p.m., another group of soldiers, about 5 or 6 of them, they came to chase us away and to leave the house at night. So everybody left and I separated from him since. Question. How did you know Prince Norodom Kontol? Answer. He came into the house as he was related to Norodom Sihanouk. I did not know the details about the royal family members, as I did not know them all. But because of his status, I had a high respect for him. Mr. President, I thank you, and I have no further question for the civil party. Thank you, Madam Civil Party. President, thank you. The floor is now given to Kiew Sampong's defense to put the questions to this civil party. You may proceed. Kong Sampong, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. On behalf of Mr. Kiew Sampong, we do not have any questions for this civil party. Thank you. President, thank you. And thank you, Madam Podina. The hearing of your statement of suffering and harms and your testimony has now concluded, and you may be excused from the court. Your statement of harm and suffering and your testimony may contribute to ascertaining the truth in this case. and we wish you all the very best, and you may return to your residence. Court officer, in collaboration with Visu, please assist the civil party for her return to her residence or wherever she wishes to go. The hearing today has now come to an end. We will adjourn the hearing today and will resume on Tuesday, the 4th of June, commencing from 9 a.m. And for Tuesday's proceeding, we will hear the testimony and the statements of harms and sufferings of the civil parties, 3 civil parties in fact, namely TCCP 4, TCCP 145, and lastly TCCP 141. Tomorrow the Chamber will not have any hearing as there are several issues to be dealt with by the Chamber, and Monday next week is a national holiday for the national side, and we take it instead of the 1st of June, which is the International Children's Day. This information is for the parties and the general public. Security guards, you are instructed to take the 3 accused back to the detention facility and have them return to the courtroom on Tuesday, the 4th of June 2013, before 9 a.m. As for Noon Jia, take him to the holding cell downstairs, which is equipped with audio-visual equipment for him to participate and follow the proceeding. The court is now adjourned.